Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I have Sena with us who is currently a software engineer at Oracle. He shares his story about how he transitioned from geophysics, that's basically quitting his PhD in geophysics, to get into the tech space. Before I continue, I want you guys to share, like, and subscribe to the channel. I hope his story is going to inspire you to get started as well. Let's get into it. Okay, welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And I'm also excited you decided to do this with me. And let's get into it. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I'm originally from Ghana. Yep, I did my undergrad in Ghana. I did it with Prosper, actually. We're in the same college, KNUST. So we're also kind of in the similar department. So I did geological engineering and Prosper, you did civil, right?
Yeah, I did civil. Yeah.
So I started out with my undergrad in geological engineering. After that, I wrote the GRE, went through the entire process. I'm sure a lot of you probably already know about that. And then I applied for graduate school in the US. And then I got into Texas Tech University and I started out with a master's in geophysics. So during my master's in geophysics, I did a lot of programming because a lot of the softwares and the programs that we use for like our inversion and our geophysical imaging was all like code that we wrote. So that really exposed me to like programming and stuff. But I was like mostly in MATLAB and Python. Yeah, so after doing my master's in geophysics, I started noticing the trend that like tech was like, the tech industry was really booming. There were a lot of jobs. And aside from that, being an international student, I'm sure Prosper can attest to that fact. Like every job or most jobs that you look at, they'll be like, you require sponsorship. It's kind of like a way to exclude international students or people on F1. And for the tech industry, I didn't see any of that. It was like open to everyone. So that also made like the tech industry like very attractive to me because they were not really like excluding international students. Another thing too was the pay was also so much. The compensation in tech is like crazy. If you want to know more, you can check levels.fyi and I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. Yeah. So with those in mind and with my little coding skills, I decided to, start a master's in computer science. And then from my master's in computer science, I was able to get an internship with Oracle. And now I got a return offer and I'm now doing a full-time position as a software engineer for Oracle. So that's basically my story to this point.
Oh, that's awesome. So just to like summarize, you said like you're motivated by um, the fact that there's a lot of like innovation and like passion in that field. And also like the compensation is
Yeah,
pretty good as compared to like other fields. And also as international students, like you come to the US, you want to be sponsored after school. And
exactly.
there are no restrictions, like visa restrictions, as to like you entering the tech market and all that.
Yeah. No, those were definitely my like major motivators. Yeah.
Yeah, so like so you were in geophysics,
Mm-hmm.
right? So while in your program, did you, like you said, you did some coding, like, so were you doing that in your research, or like what kind of projects were you working on that required you to?
Yeah. So we did a lot of like seismic inversion and deconvolution. Yeah, and we're doing it for like so many like data points and stuff. So you need to kind of like do a lot of pre-processing before you even start the deconvolution. So I had to write a filtering program, so a program that reads all the different files and filters it based on some parameters and stuff like that. So I also had to write a program to do QC. Yeah, so to QC the data. And that's when I also started getting into like machine learning and stuff. That really got me into machine learning and stuff. So that was a great experience. Yeah, so all of that really exposed me to coding. And I think that was basically where I really solidified my coding foundations. Yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify things, like, so your coding, did you have to take classes, or like you just Um, I know it's the best way to learn like coding is to like have a hands-on experience while we're
Yeah.
working on projects. We're finding things out like, can I use coding to do that? Like that's
Mhm.
you're very curious. So aside that, like, did you have to refer to any online materials
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So prior to like that, because of course you need to have heard machine learning before even thinking about applying it. So I'd already been hearing people talk about, like right now machine learning doesn't mean anything. It's just a buzzword, in my opinion. Yeah. People are just like, oh, I'm doing some machine learning, I'm doing some deep learning and all of that. So a lot of people use it as buzzwords and it's like a trendy and what some people say a sexy word right now in like the field. So I kept on hearing it and then I decided to take a machine learning course on Coursera. Yeah, so that course actually taught me all the foundations and stuff. Yeah. And that was the main, or that was the number one programming class that I took. I also took another one. So I took two actually. No, sorry. Yeah, all of that, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so I took here one course. It was offered by University of California, San Diego. Yeah, and it's like on Coursera. So I took that course from the beginning to end, and that taught me a lot, exposed me a lot to like machine learning. It exposed me to a lot of these probability theorems that I used, naive Bayes, and all of that. Yeah, so it was, I'll say that was like my first formal exposure to machine learning. Yeah.
Well, just to basically add to that, um, as Sena said, like machine learning is kind of like a buzzword, like right now, and so is data science. It's not kind of like I wouldn't say it's not a secluded field like oh data science is this particular field that I have to like start all over again. You go to school and I mean, have a degree. I mean, going to school that's fine, but then wherever you are, so far as you are dealing with data, you can integrate this into your projects. You
Yeah.
have data, you can adapt these machine learning and data science solutions to. They say data is a new gold. Yeah, basically.
Mhm.
So after working on that project, you switch to like computer science to get a master's,
Yep.
and um, then from there you got an internship with Oracle. So how did you land an internship with one
Yeah.
of the biggest tech companies in the US?
Yeah. So this is actually a crazy story because I started my computer science master's, and after I think 2 semesters, I got the internship. So I never really thought I could get that internship, especially with like Oracle, which is kind of like a big tech company. They've been around for like, I don't know, for forever. And like everyone uses Oracle databases. Right now, they are really pivoting and leaning into the cloud industry. Yeah. So I didn't really think I would like, get a job with like Oracle or any of these big tech companies. I was like, I'm not good enough. I didn't come from a traditional computer science background. I'm sure all the people that these big companies hire, they are just like crazy, like coders. They were coding when they came out of their parents, their mother's womb or something like that. Like all these coding wizards. Yeah. So I kind of had that inferiority complex from the start. Yeah. So during the period of applying for internships, I just applied to like 2, 3 internship opportunities on like um, on Indeed, and they were not to tech companies. I applied to Colgate. That's this company. They make toothpaste and they make all these body body products and stuff like that. I applied to some consulting firm that's like no one has heard of. Like I was applying to these like very lower companies because I didn't really believe in myself. And for these companies too, I didn't even hear back. Yeah, so you can imagine what that did to my self-esteem. I'm like, I'm not good enough for the big companies. The small companies, they didn't even get back to me. So I literally gave up on my internship search. Yeah. But then I didn't totally give up. I gave up in the sense that I was like, okay, I don't think I'm ready right now. There are some things that I need to look at and work on. And hopefully, if I work on these, it will make me a more attractive candidate. Yeah. So I didn't just like give up and be like, oh, like these companies don't want me. That's it. Like there's nothing I can do. There's always something you can do. Yeah, there's always something you can do. You can always work on yourself. So I was like, okay, I need to work on myself. I need to build a good portfolio. I need to revamp my LinkedIn. I need to set up a GitHub. I need to like do these things that will make me more attractive. I need to work on some better projects and stuff. So I had a friend who had actually just gotten a full-time job with NextEra Energy as a data scientist. And so I went to him and I was like, man, I tried applying for internships, no luck, nothing happened. I think I really need to like, revamp my portfolio. So can you help me with that? So this guy gave me some pointers. He told me LinkedIn, man, LinkedIn really works. He got a lot of job offers through LinkedIn. So I should like really like, make my LinkedIn like look really good. He said GitHub is key, and I should link my GitHub project in my LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has a section for projects, and you can put links in those projects. And like the moment the person clicks the link, it should take them to your GitHub. And on your GitHub, you should always have a README file, which is going to break down or explain the project in a way that recruiters can understand. Yeah. So with these tips that you gave me, I went straight at work. I immediately revamped my LinkedIn, made it like look really good, added all these like key tools and technologies that I'd used. I worked on some extra projects, some quick projects that I knew I had the skills to do, so I did those. And then I put them on my GitHub and linked all of them in to my LinkedIn. And crazy because in like a matter of weeks, a recruiter reached out to me. Yeah, a recruiter from Oracle reached out to me. They were like, wow, we saw your LinkedIn profile. We went to your GitHub, the projects that you've worked on and the skills that you have is a perfect fit for this internship, this data science internship program that we are having. So would you be interested in applying? And I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy how things happen, honestly. Like, I just did this and then immediately I'm seeing the results. Yeah. So I just like applied to the job, and then I think it was very late in the internship cycle. So the internship cycle is literally people start applying in the fall, right? And by spring, early spring to mid-spring, people are hearing and knowing whether they are going to do this internship or not. By the end of spring, people like start their internships. But this was like around the end of spring. It was like literally May when this recruiter reached out to me about this position. And apparently some new intern roles had opened up in Oracle. Yeah, and they wanted to fill them as soon as possible. Yeah. So after applying online, it was just a few days, they reached back to me. They were like, okay, no, they really like my application. We did a pre-screen. After the pre-screen, my recruiter set up, I think, 4 interviews with like different people. And then I had to go through the interview. I'm sure we are going to talk about like interview process in another video, but went through the interview process successfully. And then I got an offer to be a data scientist with Oracle, yeah, specifically in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure org. Yeah.
So like it's what Sena just spoke about is very similar to what I shared in the previous video. About like, I mean, to get there, first of all, you need to learn the skills that's like to be a successful data scientist, or to land a job. That's learn how to code. Then from there you build projects, not just about building projects, like organize your portfolio, GitHub, LinkedIn. Those are the things that they're looking out for.
Yeah.
That makes you a strong candidate. You put in an application. Mostly you have recruiters even reaching out to you. Yeah. So so after your internship, you got a full-time offer, then you decided to transition to like software. So like how did you make that decision? And
yeah, no, that's actually an interesting story, So when I went into tech, with my goal to become a data scientist or an ML machine learning engineer, like mainly in the data science space. Yeah. But then during my computer science like masters, I had to do like a lot of software engineering stuff. I did like analysis of algorithms, of course. I took all the levels of algorithms, took data structures, took software security, took a software development class. So like I started building all these skills, not just for data science, but I was building skills for software development too. I also did a little bit of like web app development where I like built a website and stuff like that. So at that point, I was feeling like I'd become very versatile. I wasn't just like, bounded by the skills of like, a data scientist or a machine learning engineer. I now had like different software engineering skills. Yeah. And aside from that, I'd also gone into really leaned into app development. So I started doing a lot of Android app development. By then I built like 3 or 4 different apps, which are all in my LinkedIn. Yeah. So I felt like I have all these skills. So I shouldn't just be so tunnel visioned on data science. I should like be willing to explore. Yeah. So it turned out that after I got my full-time data science data science offer, I heard from my colleagues who had gotten software engineering offers that like their offer was like significantly better than data scientists. And I started learning that in the field, in industry, it's kind of like software engineers are in some way more valued than data scientists. And it's unfortunate, but that's how things are here. Because they see it as a data scientist can only do data science stuff. A software engineer is the bread and butter of their company. And most software engineers can easily transition into data science too. So here's the case where data scientists are being paid like 20-30% more than data scientists, where software engineers are being paid 30 to 20% more than than data scientists. So I was like, I have the skills of a software engineer, and I don't mind doing software engineering. Actually, I do enjoy doing software engineering. So why should I go into data science when I can like, go into software engineer? Software engineer is more broad. It's less like, a niche like data scientist. And aside from that, the pay is much, much better. So I just talked to my recruiter and told her that, like, I found out that software engineers are being paid better. I don't mind doing software engineering. In fact, I have the skills to do software engineering. So I would like to, switch to do software engineering. And she was like, of course you can switch, but then you need to go through some interview. You need to go through an interview to get the software engineering position. And I was like, no, I'm like totally fine with that. So I had to do like one technical interview. It wasn't a coding interview, luckily. I just talked with like one engineering manager. He asked different technical questions here and there. And then after that, I was able to get a new offer, which was for software engineering. Yeah. And that's basically the story of how I transitioned from data science to software engineering. Yeah.
I still think data science is much more fun though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the companies, especially the tech company, they pay like a software engineers a little bit more than the data scientists, but it's all good.
Yeah, no, it's honestly at this point it's just greed in my opinion, honestly, because it's like you are still making well above $100,000 a year as a data scientist. You are making well above that, and as a software engineer, too, you are also making well above that. So both of them are like really, really awesome in terms of compensation. And as you said, in terms of job role, I think data scientists have like more independence and can like explore more, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have later views where we'll talk about those like dive deep into those conversations. I'm talking about compensation, the packages, and all that.
Yeah.
We'll do that later on.
Definitely.
Okay, so just to, it's been great talking to you. You shared your experience and all that. Very awesome. Thanks for honoring like my invitation to come on the platform and talk to everyone. So just to like sum up our conversation. So what advice would you have for those like out there that are trying to make similar transition, maybe from the arts, the health sciences, any other field into the tech space? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, no, this is really, really important to me, the question that you asked, because I feel like right now I've kind of become an evangelist in some way where I'm like trying to convince people who are not even from traditional CS backgrounds to try and get into tech. And the biggest thing is the inferiority complex, the imposter syndrome. That comes especially when you are not from a traditional CS background. And I'm sure, Prosper, you've definitely had some of those like feelings. You feel like, man, like the CS people are the CS people, man. They have been doing CS since they were like born or something like that. Yeah. And like they are way better than you. Like there's no way you can ever catch up. That's kind of how I felt. Yeah. And I don't know if you also felt that way, Prosper.
Yeah, I felt that way. I mean, I took classes. My first programming class was Java, and like it was an undergrad class, and I realized, I mean, the kids in the class, I spoke to some of them, like they started coding on the way from like fifth grade, you know, and that was my first ever programming class.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely that's going to set in, but that shouldn't stop you from.
No, that shouldn't stop you at all. And I think you shouldn't like let that imposter syndrome or that inferiority complex like prevent you from going for what you want. Yeah. If you want to be in tech, you can be in tech. You don't need a CS background to be in tech. And I'm going to give some reasons why. Yeah. So the first thing is, after coming into CS and like, you know, working in CS, I started to really excel in CS. Yeah. And I was better than a lot of people in my classes who were like traditional CS from the start. Yeah. So once you get into CS and you start like, you know, working in the tech space and stuff like that, you realize that everyone doesn't know anything. They are all just like you, man. We are all Googling and figuring things out as we do it. Yeah. So they are not ahead of you in any way. In fact, you are all at the same level. Yeah. And there are a lot of people in the tech space right now, people who I've worked with who did not have that traditional CS background, and they are excelling. And I can give a lot of examples. So one example is there's this guy on my team in Oracle. I just met him like a couple of weeks ago. And you'll not believe this, but this guy came from a blue collar job. He didn't even go to college. The guy didn't go to college. He worked as a FedEx driver for many years. And he was like, okay. And he also was in real estate. So he bought a house. And then after buying a house, he started making some money from the real estate and he had more free time. And he was like, man, he wants to get into the tech space. He did a boot camp. And right now he's like our Scrum Master in my team. Yeah, like he's a leader, he's a tech lead in my team. And this guy didn't come from a traditional CS background. He didn't even have a college degree. So that should give you guys an idea of it. It really has nothing to do with your background. It has to do with what skills do you have now. So the guy went through this boot camp. He got the skills that he needed to perform as a software engineer. He did his interviews. He got a job at Amazon. He got like 5-6 years of work experience. And then after that, he left Amazon and came to Oracle. And now he's like totally killing it. He's balling right now. Yeah. So that was just one example. Another thing too that I noticed is there are a lot of people who transition from physics, a lot of people who transition from math, a lot of people who transition from mechanical engineering, chemical engineering. And all these people who transition from these non-traditional CS backgrounds, they actually, when they transition to tech, they really thrive. And I was talking to my recruiter, I was talking to like my engineering manager, and they all said, they were like, we really like software engineers who come from non-traditional CS background. They literally said that. They literally said, we like those guys. Yeah. And then I was like, why? Like, why do you like those guys? And they were like, even for you, my recruiter said, like you having that geophysics background and then having the CS background was what caught my eye. Yeah. Yeah, they are like people who come from non-traditional background. Their perspectives are like, they come with like some type of unique perspective. If you are already in CS, you've been in CS since you started, all you know is CS. The way you think, the way you approach problems is going to be in that CS mindset. But a lot of real life problems are not CS problems. You know, a lot of real life problems, we are trying to improve profits. You know, we want to we want to make the product maybe more customer friendly. Maybe we are trying to solve a problem that maybe some scientists somewhere are using, maybe some scientists or chemical engineers, or maybe some geophysicists are the ones using the product. And we want to know their perspective. How are they approaching their product? Because the products that a lot of these companies make is not being used by computer scientists. It's being used by people from diverse fields. You get it? So if you have that different perspective where you came from a different field and then you came to computer science, you're able to bring that perspective to the table, which is extremely valuable to these tech companies. Yeah. So I think, if anything, coming from a non-traditional CS background, in my opinion, it's a leg up for you. You know, really pivot on that, really show that you're able to take your CS knowledge and apply it in a different field. And that is going to really set you apart from like regular CS people doing regular CS stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think definitely coming from a non-traditional CS background, it shouldn't be a reason why you feel inferior or why you feel like an imposter. It should make you feel like you are bringing something unique to the table. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just to add to that, so many people out there that like transition from engineering, like, or the arts to like data science. Even people read political science.
Yeah.
And they are software engineers now. I can give you a long list. It continues. So, I mean, it's possible we can do it. If we have been able to do it, you can also do it.
Yeah.
So thanks guys for watching this video. Definitely I'm going to bring Sena back on the channel. Okay, and he's going to be here. He has a lot to share with us. Before we go, make sure you subscribe, share, and like this content. Don't forget to subscribe, okay? I will see you in the next one.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Prosper.
Thanks, bro.